most influential chemical accidents of all time occurred on December 3rd, 1984, at a pesticides plant in a town called Bhopal, India. The plant was partly owned by Union Carbide and partly owned by the locals. The disastrous accident that occurred forever changed the chemical process industry in the United States and across the world. The plant was constructed 1.5 miles from the nearest civilian housing. This was done as a way to isolate people from the risks associated with living near a chemical plant such as the one in Bhopal. However, residential areas rapidly grew closer and closer to the plant because it was the dominant source of employment in the area. The process used at Bhopal involved the deadly chemical methyl isocyanate, also known as MIC. This chemical has numerous risks associated with it. MIC is reactive, toxic, volatile, and flammable. A concentration of just 21 parts per million is considered to be intolerable for humans. The MIC was carefully considered in the design of the process facility. Several safety systems were employed around the MIC storage tanks. However, one system that was overlooked in the design was the use of refrigeration to keep the volatile chemical cool, should it ever react. This would prove to be one of many fatal decisions. In 1984, the demand for the pesticide being produced at Bhopal was significantly lower than what the builders of the plant had originally anticipated. This led to more inventory being kept on hand. Due to the excess inventory, the MIC storage tanks were often filled beyond their recommended volumes. At the time of the accident, labor disputes forced the plant to completely stop production. With nothing being produced, raw materials including MIC were not being consumed by the process and continued to accumulate in the on-site storage facilities. The exact cause of the accident is still unknown, but it is believed that the accident occurred when water or some other contaminant somehow got into the MIC storage tanks. The reaction that followed caused the MIC to boil and to be released through the pressure relief valve. The released gas was sent through a scrubber and flare tower, which was designed to eliminate the toxic substance in the case of a release. However, both of these pieces of equipment were inoperable due to lack of maintenance. This allowed the vaporized chemical to be released straight into the atmosphere. Because MIC is denser than air, the vapor cloud stayed at ground level. With no warning or time to react, the 25-ton cloud floated its way into the town that had grown to the immediate vicinity of the plant. The vapors were inhaled by the residents. The MIC reacted with the water in their lungs. Some suffocated while others drowned in their own secretions. The exact death toll is still unknown. Officials estimate the range from 2,000 to 4,000 people. However, some estimate that the catastrophe is much closer to 8,000. One thing that could have been done would have been to reduce the budget to match the decrease in demand. This would have decreased the amount of MIC on hand and reduced the severity of this release. The loss of life could have been further reduced if the plant had provided local authorities with the proper information to deal with an outbreak of any of their chemicals. This would have enabled hospitals to treat their patients instead of watching helplessly as an unknown chemical killed countless people seeking help. After the Bhopal disaster, companies that use similar processes looked closely at how to reduce the amount of MIC used. Originally, companies found ways to localize the MIC to a specific area of the process, greatly reducing the amount of inventory required. Eventually, companies developed ways to produce the pesticide without the use of MIC, completely eliminating the hazards associated with this chemical.
The incident at Bhopal was caused by failure at different levels: technical failure, operator failure, management failure, government failure. Technical failure: poor understanding of the risks involved in handling MIC, poor safety specification. Operator failure: poor training, failure to understand the gravity of the situation. Management failure: poor safety concern at the corporate level, failure to equip the plant with the necessary safety. Government failure: poor emergency management, poor coordination effort, poor implementation of safety and regulation. 500,000 people were exposed to the MIC gas and about 3,000 people died because of it. What could have been done to prevent it from happening? Chemical plants with a probability of hazardous chemical release should not be located in densely populated areas with improper physical infrastructure. This was the case in Bhopal. Hazardous chemical plants should be located far away from the city, miles away from the nearest residential area. In order to reduce the possibility of disaster in case of plant malfunction, it is important and even preferable to use chemical or process that are the least hazardous in nature. In the case of the Bhopal incident, a less dangerous chemical could have been used instead of the MIC. For a hazardous facility, a complete to-do list of all the necessary steps required if anything unusual is noticed must be available to the operators. In addition, complete logging and monitoring of all the parameters, even if some of them may be considered unnecessary by the operator, has to be made statutory. For a hazardous chemical plant, a relationship with employees, the public in the vicinity, the public health authorities is very important. Starting from the project formulation stage, the project proposal has to be open to the public with respect to the nature of chemical hazard and precaution. The sharing of information will have a positive effect on hazard reduction. This was not the case in Bhopal, where the public at large did not know the danger of MIC. For a hazardous chemical plant, carrying out detailed rehearsal of emergency on the facility with the active involvement of all levels of management at a regular interval must be made statutory. Hazardous chemical plant, the stature of safety management at the corporate level has to be high. Production targets and financial targets are important, but cannot be the prime objective in hazardous facilities. A subservient safety system cannot be implemented in a plant because of monetary reasons. This was the case in Bhopal, where the conventional management used were ineffective for hazardous chemical process.